Captain Jake Morrison stared at the star map floating above his command table. The blue lights showed their position far beyond the edge of the Milky Way galaxy. No human had ever traveled this far from Earth before. The exploration ship Frontier. Dawn was alone in the darkness between galaxies. "Captain, we're picking up strange signals from the third planet in the system," said Lisa Grant from the pilot seat. She was young but skilled, one of Earth's best pilots. Her fingers moved quickly. Over the control panel. Jake walked to the main screen. "What kind of signals?" "Energy weapons, lots of them." "And something else." Lisa's voice was worried. "There are life signs down there, but they're getting weaker by the minute." Danny Rodriguez looked up from his engineer station. He was a big man with gentle eyes who could fix anything that broke on the ship. "Captain, those weapon signatures are unlike anything in our database. The power levels are off the charts." Kate Phillips, the team scientist who studied alien life, checked her instruments. "I'm reading multiple species on the planet's surface. But sir, some of the life signs are fading fast. I think we're witnessing a massacre." Jake felt his stomach tighten. The crew had been excited about their first contact with alien life. They had hoped to meet a peaceful civilization. Instead, they might be watching the destruction of an entire species. "Take us down, Lisa. Keep us hidden in the cloud cover." The Frontier dawn descended through the purple atmosphere of the alien world. Below them, a city burned. Tall spires of crystal and metal were crumbling under heavy weapon fire. Strange creatures ran through the streets, fleeing from their attackers. "My God," whispered Kate. "Look at them." On the screen, they could see the victims clearly. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large eyes. They moved gracefully even in their panic. These beings carried no weapons. They were running, hiding, trying to protect their young. "And look at the ones chasing them," Danny said grimly. The attackers were nightmares made real. They stood 8 feet tall with dark green scales covering their bodies. Their heads were long and filled with sharp teeth. Claws extended from their hands like knives. These creatures moved with the confidence of predators who had never known fear. "Reptilian species," Kate noted, recording everything. "Highly aggressive. Look at how they hunt in packs." The reptilian creatures were not just killing. They were enjoying it. They played with their victims like cats with mice. Some of the blue-skinned aliens were captured alive and dragged toward large ships that had landed in the city center. "They're taking prisoners," Jake observed, "or maybe food." One of the reptilian creatures looked up at the sky. Even through the clouds, it seemed to stare right at the Frontier dawn. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. "Captain, we've been spotted," Lisa said urgently. 3 of their ships are heading our way." "All stop. Let them come to us." "Sir?" Danny looked confused. "Shouldn't we run?" "No. We need to know what we're dealing with. These creatures might threaten Earth someday. We need to learn about them." The alien ships surrounded the Frontier dawn. They were black and angular, covered in spikes and weapon systems. One ship attached itself to their hull with a loud clang. "They're boarding us," Lisa reported. "Let them come, but everyone stay armed and ready." The airlock opened with a hiss. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors of the human ship. The first creature that entered the bridge had to duck through the doorway. Up close, it was even more terrifying. Its scales were scarred from countless battles. Its claws left scratches on the metal floor. Behind it came 2 more of the reptilian aliens. They looked around the bridge with interest, like predators examining a new hunting ground. The leader spoke in a voice like grinding stone. Somehow, the words translated in their minds. "Ion Sektar of the Vorthic Empire, you are now prisoners of the Zirathi." Jake stepped forward. He was much smaller than the alien, but he did not back down. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison. This is a peaceful exploration vessel from Earth." Sektar Ez head tilted. Earth, we do not know this world. Are you the prey species from this planet? We're not prey. The alien laughed, a sound like breaking glass. All species are prey to the Zirathi. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We are the apex predators of this galaxy. Kate stepped closer to Jake. Captain, their body language suggests they're used to their victims showing fear. But they seem confused by our reactions. Sektar heard her words. Confused? You tiny soft creatures amuse us. Do you not understand? We are death. We are the end of worlds. Species flee at the mention of our name. Never heard of you, Danny said simply. The three Vorthok exchanged glances. This was not the reaction they expected. Usually, their prey collapsed in terror at first sight of them. These strange creatures seemed almost curious rather than afraid. You will make interesting pets for the Empress, Sektar decided. Your ship will be taken to the capital world. You will live in cages and entertain us with your strange behavior. I don't think so, Jake said calmly. You think you have a choice? Sektar moved closer, his claws extended. We could kill you now and save ourselves the trouble. You could try. Jake's calm response made Sektar pause. In all his years of conquest, no prey species had ever spoken to him this way. Fear was the Zirathi's greatest weapon. It paralyzed their enemies and made conquest easy. But these creatures showed no fear. Interesting, Sektar mused. Perhaps you are too stupid to understand your situation. Let me make it clear. He reached out with one massive claw toward Lisa. Jake moved faster than the alien expected, grabbing a plasma cutter from Danny's tool belt. The beam cut across Sektar's arm, leaving a burning line in the scales. The Vorthok roared in pain and surprise. You dare wound me? Stay away from my crew. The other two aliens moved to attack, but Jake was ready. The humans had trained for hostile contact scenarios. They moved with coordination the aliens had never seen. Lisa activated the ship's internal defenses while Danny sealed off sections of the ship. Kate began jamming their communications. Impossible, Sektar snarled. Prey does not fight back. We're not prey, Jake repeated. We're human. The fight was brief but intense. The aliens were stronger and had natural weapons, but the humans fought smart. They used their ship's systems, their tools, and most importantly, their ability to work together. When the smoke cleared, two of the aliens were unconscious, and Sektar was wounded. Jake stood over him with the plasma cutter still in his hand. Here's what's going to happen, Jake said. You're going to take a message back to your Empress. Tell her that humans are not prey. Tell her that if she wants Earth, she have to come and take it herself. Sektar's eyes burned with rage and something else. Something he had never felt before. For the first time in his life, a Vorthok warrior felt the cold touch of fear. You have no idea what you have done, he whispered. We'll find out, Jake replied. Now get off our ship. As the aliens retreated to their vessels, Kate checked her recordings. Captain, did you realize what just happened? We may have just started a war with a galactic empire. Jake watched the alien ships disappear into the darkness. Maybe, but they needed to know that humans don't scare easily. Far below on the planet's surface, the last of the blue-skinned aliens watched the sky. They had seen the brief battle between the ships above. For the first time in days, they felt something they had almost forgotten: hope. Sektar knelt before the massive throne in the heart of the Zirathi capital world. His wounds still burned from the encounter with the strange creatures called humans. Around him, the great hall buzzed with whispers from hundreds of alien species. All servants of the Empire. High Empress Vexara towered above them all. She was the largest Vorthok ever born, her scales black as space itself. Scars covered her body like medals, each one a reminder of a world she had conquered. Her red eyes glowed in the dim light as she studied the wounded warrior before her. You return in shame, Sektar, her voice echoed through the hall. Defeated by prey. My Empress, they were not like other species. They showed no fear. They fought back with weapons and tactics we have never seen. Murmurs spread through the gathered aliens. In 1,000 years of Zerathi rule, no prey species had ever wounded a Vorthic warrior and lived to tell about it. Describe these humans, Vexara commanded. Small, soft creatures with no natural weapons. But they work together in ways that confuse our battle instincts. When we moved to capture one, the others defended it. When we attacked, they used their ship against us. They think differently than prey should think. War Master Krexul stepped forward from the shadows. He was Vexara's personal hunter, famous for conquering the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy. My Empress, perhaps these humans are simply too stupid to know they should be afraid. No, Sektar shook his head. They knew they were outmatched. They knew we could kill them, but they fought anyway. Their leader looked me in the eyes and called me a liar. No prey has ever dared to do that. Vexara's claws scraped against her throne. The sound made every creature in the hall shiver with fear. Where is this Earth? The human captain left something behind, a damaged device with star maps. Sektar held up Jake's broken tablet. Our tech slaves have located their home world. It sits at the edge of a small galaxy, far from any of our territories. Interesting. The Empress studied the star charts that appeared above them. A single world, isolated and weak. Yet its children dare to challenge the Zerathi Empire. Krexul bowed low. Grant me a hunting fleet, my Empress. I will bring you these humans in chains. Their world will burn as an example to all who would defy us. Yes, Vexara's teeth gleamed. But not just any fleet. Take 1,000 ships. Take the Bone Weavers and the Pain Feeders. Let this Earth see what happens to species that forget their place. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Frontier Dawn limped toward Earth. The ship's engines had been damaged in the fight, and the journey took weeks longer than planned. Jake spent most of his time in the medical bay, where Kate was treating injuries from the battle. Captain, we need to talk about what happened back there, Kate said as she bandaged a cut on his arm. The way those aliens reacted to us was strange. It was like they had never faced resistance before. What are you thinking? I think their entire society is built on fear. They use terror as a weapon because it works on every species they have met. But humans react differently to threats. We get angry. We fight back. That behavior broke their understanding of how prey should act. Lisa joined them in the medical bay. Captain, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures following our course. Something big is coming toward Earth. Jake felt his blood turn cold. How big? The computer estimates over 1,000 ships, sir. They will reach Earth in about 2 months. Danny appeared in the doorway, his face pale. Captain, I have been thinking about what that alien said. About conquering 1,000 worlds. What if they are not lying? What if we just made enemies of the most powerful force in the galaxy? Then Earth needs to know what is coming, Jake said simply. 3 weeks later, the Frontier Dawn docked at Luna Station above Earth. Jake and his crew were rushed to the Terran Defense Command, where Admiral Ryan Burke waited with a room full of military leaders. Captain Morrison, your report claims you encountered a hostile alien empire. Admiral Burke was a no-nonsense man who had spent his life preparing for threats from space. How certain are you about this invasion fleet? Sir, they are coming. I saw what they did to that planet. They do not conquer worlds. They destroy them. And I think I may have made things worse by fighting back. Dr. Helen Carter, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, leaned forward. Captain, tell me about their behavior. How did they react when you resisted? Jake described the fight in detail. How the aliens seemed confused by human tactics. How they expected fear and surrender but found determination instead. Fascinating. Dr. Carter made notes on her tablet. It sounds like they have never encountered a species with our psychological profile. Most intelligent life probably evolved to avoid predators, not fight them. But humans are different. We are persistence hunters. We do not give up. General Marcus Stone, head of Earth's Defense Forces, studied the tactical reports. Captain, we have maybe 500 combat ships in our entire fleet. Our weapons are designed for asteroid mining and space pirates. How do we fight 1,000 alien warships? I do not know, sir. But I do know they can be hurt. They can be surprised. And they are not expecting us to fight back. Admiral Burke activated the global communication system. People of Earth, this is Admiral Burke. We have confirmation of an incoming alien threat. All military personnel report to duty stations immediately. All civilian populations prepare for possible evacuation. But something unexpected happened. Instead of panic, Earth's population responded with determination. Factories that built cars began making weapons. Miners volunteered to fly combat ships. Teachers became tactical planners. The entire planet transformed into a fortress. Dr. Carter worked day and night analyzing the Zerithi psychology. Her reports were distributed to every military unit on Earth. The enemy's greatest weakness is their dependence on fear, she wrote. They have never learned to fight an enemy that refuses to be intimidated. Jake was given command of Earth's newest ship, the Defiant Star. It was not the biggest or strongest vessel in the fleet, but it was fast and carried the most advanced weapons Earth could build. Captain, Lisa said as they prepared for launch, are you sure about broadcasting our location to the galaxy? That message you sent could bring more enemies to Earth. Jake looked out at the stars where the alien fleet was approaching. Maybe, but it could also bring allies. The galaxy needs to see that the Zerithi can be fought. That prey can become predators. Danny checked his instruments one final time. Sir, long-range sensors confirm the alien fleet has entered our solar system. They will be here in 6 hours. Then it is time to show them what humans do when cornered, Jake said. All ships, this is Morrison. Form up and prepare to advance. We are not running from this fight. Kate monitored communications from the alien fleet. Captain, they are not trying to talk. No surrender demands, no threats. They are just coming straight for us. Good, Jake smiled grimly. That means they still think we are prey. Let them keep thinking that until it is too late. The human fleet moved toward the approaching darkness. Behind them, Earth waited. Ahead of them, 1,000 alien ships prepared to destroy another world. But for the first time in Zerithi history, their prey was hunting them back. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin. War Master Krexul stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small human fleet approach. His massive form cast shadows across the command center as hundreds of Zerithi warriors prepared their weapons. Behind him, the invasion fleet stretched across space like a dark cloud. My lord, his second-in-command hissed, the prey ships are moving toward us instead of fleeing. Should we destroy them quickly? Krexul's red eyes studied the tactical display. The human fleet was tiny compared to his forces. Their ships looked fragile, built for exploration rather than war. No, the Empress wants live specimens. Disable their engines but keep the crews alive. We will study these strange creatures who claim to feel no fear. On the bridge of the Defiant Star, Jake watched the alien fleet spread out to surround them. The enemy ships were massive, covered in spikes and weapon systems that glowed with deadly energy. His small fleet of 500 human ships looked like insects next to giants. Captain, they are powering weapons but not firing, Lisa reported. It looks like they want to capture us alive. That is their first mistake, Jake replied. Danny, how are our special modifications? Danny grinned from his engineering station. All ships are loaded with the surprise packages, sir. The aliens won't know what hit them. Jake opened communications to the entire human fleet. All ships, remember the plan. Let them think they are winning. Make them overconfident. Then we show them why you never corner a human. The first exchange of fire lit up space. The Zirathi weapons were powerful, designed to cripple ships without destroying them. But human ships were small and fast. They dodged between the massive alien vessels like dancers avoiding falling rocks. Commander Amy Jackson piloted the destroyer Iron Will through a gap between two Zirathi battleships. Her crew worked with perfect coordination, something the aliens had never seen before. While the gunners fired at enemy weapon systems, the engineers rerouted power to shields, and the navigation team plotted escape routes. "This is impossible," growled the Zirathi ship commander. "Prey does not fight in formations. They should be running in panic." But the humans were not panicking. They were learning. With each exchange of fire, they adapted their tactics. When the aliens tried to surround them, humans slipped through gaps in their formation. When the Zirathi used their superior firepower, humans used speed and teamwork. Jake saw his opportunity when a Zirathi dreadnought moved too close to the Defiant Star. "Lisa, ram us into their docking bay. Danny, prepare boarding pods." "Sir, that is suicide," Kate protested. "No, that is human," Jake corrected. The Defiant Star slammed into the alien ship's hull with a crash that shook both vessels. Before the Zirathi could react, human boarding pods shot out like bullets, carrying assault teams into the heart of the enemy ship. Sergeant Tony Martinez led the first team through the corridors of the alien vessel. The passages were built for creatures much larger than humans, giving the boarding party room to move and fight. Tony had been a police officer before joining the Space Force. He knew how to handle dangerous situations. "Remember, boys," he told his team over the radio, "these things expect us to be scared. Let us show them what scared humans look like." The first group of Zirathi warriors they encountered filled the corridor like a wall of claws and teeth. Their leader, a scarred veteran named Grixtyle, laughed when he saw the small human soldiers. "Tiny soft things," Grixtyle hissed. "You have come to us like food walking into our mouths." Tony looked up at the massive alien and smiled. It was not a nice smile. "You know what, Ugly? I have been having a really bad day. Thanks for giving me something to take it out on." What happened next would be talked about across the galaxy for years to come. Tony and his team fought with something the Zirathi had never encountered. They fought with joy. These humans actually enjoyed combat against impossible odds. Tony ducked under Grixtal's claws and fired his weapon at point-blank range. When the alien swung at him with a massive fist, Tony rolled between its legs and kept shooting. His team spread out through the corridor, using human tactics that confused the Zirathi completely. "They fight like pack hunters," one alien warrior reported before a human grenade silenced him forever. "Impossible," Grixtal snarled as Tony's team drove the aliens back. "Prey does not hunt predators." "We are not prey," Tony laughed as he reloaded his weapon. "We are from Earth, buddy. On our world, everything wants to kill us. We learned to fight back a long time ago." The boarding action spread through the Zirathi ship like wildfire. Human teams moved through the corridors with tactics the aliens could not understand. They used grenades to seal passages, created ambushes. At every turn, and most disturbing of all, they sang while they fought. War-Master Krex Ool watched his flagship being torn apart from within. This is not possible. How can such small creatures defeat Zirathi warriors? "My lord," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving transmissions from the human ships. They are broadcasting everything to the entire galaxy." "What?" Across known space, millions of alien species watched the battle. They saw human ships dancing between Zirathi vessels. They watched as boarding parties of tiny humans fought massive predators and won. Most importantly, they saw something that had been missing from the galaxy for 1,000 years. They saw the Zirithi losing on Earth. Dr. Carter watched the battle reports with growing excitement. "Admiral, look at this. The psychological profiles are fascinating. Our people are not just fighting effectively, they are enjoying it. The Zirithi have never faced a species that treats combat as a challenge rather than a death sentence." "Admiral." Burke nodded grimly. "The question is, can we win?" The answer came when Jake's team reached the bridge of the Zirithi flagship. War Master Krexul stood waiting for them, his massive form filling the command center. This was the most feared warrior in the Zirithi Empire, a creature that had personally killed thousands of enemies. "So you are their leader," Krexul rumbled. "You are smaller than I expected." Jake looked up at the towering alien without fear. "Size is not everything. You are about to learn that." The fight between Jake and Krexul was broadcast live across the galaxy. Billions of enslaved species watched as a human barely half the alien size faced down the most dangerous predator in known space. But Jake did not fight like prey. He fought like a human. When Krexul's claws came down, Jake was already moving. When the alien tried to grab him, Jake used the creature's own strength against it. Most importantly, Jake never stopped talking. "You know what your problem is?" Jake said as he dodged another attack. "You have been bullying weaklings for so long, you forgot how to fight someone who fights back." Krexul roared in frustration. Nothing in his experience had prepared him for this. Prey was supposed to cower and die. It was not supposed to mock him while dancing around his attacks. The battle ended when Jake used Krexul's own weapon against him. As the War Master fell, Jake stood over his defeated enemy and spoke words that would echo across the galaxy. "Tell your Empress that Earth is not afraid. Tell her that humans do not surrender. And tell her that if she wants a war, we will give her one she will never forget." As the Zirithi fleet retreated in confusion, something unprecedented happened. On a dozen worlds across the galaxy, enslaved species looked up at the stars and whispered a word they had almost forgotten. Hope. High Empress Vexara watched the recording of Krexul's defeat for the 100th time. Her claws scraped deep grooves in her throne as rage built inside her like lava in a volcano. Around her, the great hall was silent. No one dared to speak. After witnessing the impossible, 3 million ships, she finally spoke, her voice like thunder. "Gather every vessel in the Empire. Call back the fleets from the outer territories. Summon the bone weavers from their death worlds. Wake the void stalkers from their sleep. I want every nightmare creature we have ever enslaved." Her second-in-command, a smaller Vorthik named Zekran, trembled as he spoke. "My Empress, that would leave our territories undefended. The slave worlds might rebel." Vexara's head turned slowly toward him. "Are you questioning my orders?" "No, my Empress. I will send the commands immediately." But Zekran's concerns were already coming true. On the mining world of Kethra Prime, the blue-skinned Zilani who had survived the massacre watched the human broadcasts with growing excitement. Their leader, an old female named Lithara, gathered her people in the deep caves where they had hidden from Zirithi hunters. "You all saw the humans fight," she whispered. "They showed no fear. They treated the Zirithi like ordinary enemies, not gods of death. If such small creatures can wound War Master Krexul, then perhaps we too can fight back." Similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds. Species that had been slaves for generations began to remember their warrior ancestors. The Christic began sharpening their natural weapons. The Methani started building bombs from mining equipment. The Jorvik practiced their old battle songs. On Earth, the victory celebration was brief. Admiral Burke called an emergency meeting with all military commanders. The holographic display showed disturbing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The Zirathi are mobilizing everything they have, Burke announced. Our agents report. Fleets moving from every corner of their empire. We estimate 3 million warships heading toward Earth. The room fell silent. Earth's entire fleet numbered only a few thousand ships, and most of those were converted civilian vessels with basic weapons. General Stone studied the tactical projections. Admiral, our victory was impressive, but we caught them off guard. This time they will be prepared for our tactics. 3 million ships is beyond anything we can handle. Dr. Carter raised her hand. General, I think you are missing the bigger picture. Our broadcast did not just immortalize the Zirathi. It inspired their slaves. We are receiving reports of uprisings on over 50 worlds. The Empire is fighting rebellions everywhere. Jake sat quietly in the corner, studying intelligence reports on his tablet. The uprisings are good news, but they won't stop 3 million ships from reaching Earth. We need a different strategy. What are you thinking, Captain? Burke asked. We turn Earth into a fortress. Not just the planet, but the entire solar system. We make them fight for every asteroid, every moon, every inch of space. We make victory so costly that they question whether it is worth it. The plan that emerged was ambitious beyond anything humans had ever attempted. Every person on Earth contributed to the war effort. Farmers became soldiers. Engineers built weapons. Children helped manufacture ammunition. Even elderly citizens worked in communication centers, coordinating the defense. Pete Wilson had been a corn farmer in Kansas his entire life. Now he found himself manning a gun turret on a converted cargo ship orbiting Mars. His weathered hands, once used for planting seeds, now operated weapon systems that could destroy starships. Never thought I would be fighting aliens, he told his crewmate, a young woman named Sarah from New York who had been a teacher just months before. Never thought aliens would be stupid enough to attack Earth, Sarah replied as she checked the ammunition feeds. These Zirathi picked the wrong species to bully. Nancy Brooks had taught second grade for 20 years before the war began. Now she led a team of civilian engineers who had turned the asteroid belt into a minefield. Her gentle voice that once read stories to children now coordinated bombing runs against enemy scouts. Remember, everyone, Nancy spoke into her headset. We are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for every species in the galaxy that has been enslaved by these monsters. We cannot let them down. The Zirathi fleet arrived like a storm front, darkening the space around Earth's solar system. The lead ships were unlike anything humans had seen before. They were alive, grown rather than built, covered in writhing tentacles and pulsing with unnatural energy. Bone weavers. Kate identified them from the bridge of the Defiant Star. The intelligence reports said they consumed their enemies and used the bones to build new ships. Behind them are the Void Stalkers, creatures of pure energy that feed on life force. Jake watched the enemy formation through the tactical display. How many? 3.2 million ships, sir. Every nightmare the Zirathi have ever collected. The battle began at the edge of the solar system. Human defense platforms, built into asteroids and moons, opened fire on the approaching fleet. The aliens expected easy victory against the small human force, but Earth's defenders had learned from their previous encounter. Commander Lucy Chun piloted the heavy cruiser, Revenge, through a formation of bone weaver ships. Her vessel had been a luxury liner before the war, converted with the heaviest weapons Earth could build. She led her squadron in a diving attack that caught the aliens by surprise. All ships, this is Chun. Remember what Captain Morrison taught us. Hit them fast, hit them hard, and never give them time to think. The battle raged for hours. Human ships darted between the massive alien vessels like angry wasps attacking giants. Every tactic the humans had learned in their first encounter. was put to use, but the Zirathi had adapted too. They no longer underestimated their human enemies. Lucy's ship took heavy damage as Voidstalkers drained power from her engines. Her crew worked frantically to keep the Revenge flying, but systems were failing throughout the ship. "Captain, we have lost main power," her engineer reported. "Weapons are offline." Lucy looked at the massive Zirathi flagship bearing down on them. Her ship was dead in space, helpless before the enemy. But she had one weapon left. "All hands, abandon ship. Set the reactor for overload." "Captain, you will die if you stay," her second-in-command protested. Lucy smiled as she strapped herself into the pilot's seat. "Then I will die as a human should, fighting." The Revenge accelerated toward the Zirathi flagship on its last reserves of power. Lucy's final transmission was heard across the solar system and beyond. "We are not food. We are not prey. We are human." The explosion when the Revenge struck the alien flagship lit up space like a new star. The massive enemy vessel broke apart, taking thousands of Zirathi warriors with it. Lucy's sacrifice became a rallying cry that echoed across the galaxy, but even heroic sacrifices could not stop 3 million ships. The Zirathi fleet pushed deeper into the solar system, overwhelming human defenses through sheer numbers. By the end of the first day, enemy ships were entering Earth's atmosphere. Admiral Burke watched from the command bunker as alien landing craft descended toward Earth's surface. "All ground forces, this is Burke. The enemy has reached our world. Show them what happens when you invade a human home." High Empress Vexara stood on the bridge of her personal dreadnought as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Below her, the blue and green world looked peaceful and defenseless. Soon it would be another burned conquest in her empire's history. "Prepare landing forces," she commanded. "I want every human city in flames by sunset. These creatures need to learn the price of defying the Zirathi Empire." But as her ships descended toward Earth's surface, something unexpected happened. The cities below were not cowering in fear. They were fighting back. Every building had been turned into a fortress. Every street was a battlefield. The entire population of Earth had become an army. The war for humanity's survival had reached its darkest hour. But in that darkness, something amazing was happening. Species across the galaxy were rising up against their Zirathi masters, inspired by the example of the small creatures from Earth, who refused to surrender. The battle for Earth would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of every enslaved world in the galaxy. The streets of New York burned under alien fire, but the city did not fall. From every window and rooftop, human defenders fought back with weapons that should not have been able to hurt the mighty Zirathi. Construction worker Mike Sullivan threw homemade explosives from his crane while his daughter Emma, a college student, coordinated evacuation routes through the subway tunnels. "Dad, more bone weavers coming from the east," Emma reported through her radio. Mike swung his crane around, using the massive hook to smash into an alien flyer. "These things picked the wrong city to mess with, sweetheart. New Yorkers don't back down from anybody." Across the planet, similar scenes played out. In Tokyo, businessman Ken Yamamoto led office workers in guerrilla attacks against Zirathi patrols. In London, retired teacher Margaret Holmes organized children and elderly citizens to run supply lines for the fighters. In Lagos, Dr. Kemi Adebayo turned her hospital into a fortress that treated wounded humans while fighting off alien attackers. High Empress Vexara watched from her flagship as reports flooded in from across Earth. Every city was a battleground. Every human was a soldier. Her forces were taking terrible losses against creatures that should have been helpless prey. "My Empress," her field commander reported, "the humans fight differently than any species we have encountered. They do not break when we kill their leaders. New ones take their place immediately. They do not retreat when their positions are overrun. They keep fighting from the ruins. How is this possible?" Vexara snarled. They are soft creatures with no natural weapons. How can they resist the might of the Zirathi Empire? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Carter had been captured during the battle for Washington, D.C., and now stood in chains before the Empress. Despite her bruises and torn clothes, the elderly scientist looked up at the massive alien. Without fear, "You want to know why you cannot break us?" Dr. Carter asked. "Because you never learned the difference between strength and power. You have power, you have big ships and terrible weapons. But humans have something you lost long ago." "What?" Vexara demanded. "We have each other. We fight not just for ourselves, but for our families, our friends, our world. You fight because you are afraid of being weak. We fight because we refuse to let evil win." Vexara raised her claw to strike down the human, but stopped when new reports arrived. Across the galaxy, the rebellions were spreading faster than her forces could contain them. The Zilani had retaken their homeworld. The Christic had destroyed 3 Zirathi fleets. Most disturbing of all, some Zirathi soldiers were deserting, unwilling to continue the slaughter. "Impossible," Vexara whispered. "The Empire has stood for 1,000 years." "All empires fall eventually," Dr. Carter replied. "Especially ones built on fear and cruelty. You taught the galaxy to be afraid of you, but humans taught them something better. We taught them hope." The tide of battle began to turn when Admiral Burke launched Operation Freedom. Every human ship that could still fly, along with vessels from rebelling alien species, converged on Earth. The Zilani arrived first, their crystal ships gleaming as they fought alongside their human allies. "This is Lith Ara of the Free Zilani," came the transmission. "We stand with our human friends. Today, we take back the galaxy." The space battle above Earth became the largest in galactic history. Millions of ships clashed while billions watched from across known space. But this was not just a military conflict. It was a battle for the soul of the galaxy itself. Jake Morrison, now commanding the rebuilt Terran Liberation Fleet, led the final assault on Vexara's flagship. His ship, the New Defiant, had been built with technology gifted by liberated alien species. It was faster and stronger than any human vessel before it. "All ships, this is Morrison. Today we end the age of fear. Today we begin the age of freedom." The boarding action that followed would be remembered for centuries. Jake and his team fought through the corridors of the Zirathi flagship, but they were not alone. Zilani warriors, Christic fighters, and even reformed Zirathi soldiers fought beside them. In the throne room of her ship, High Empress Vexara waited for the final confrontation. She had dismissed her guards and stood alone, her massive form casting shadows in the dim light. When Jake entered, she looked down at the small human with something that might have been respect. "So you have come to kill me," she said. "No," Jake replied. "I have come to give you a choice. Surrender and help us build a better galaxy, or fall with your empire." Vexara laughed, but there was no joy in it. "You think I would serve creatures I once hunted for sport? I think you are tired of being afraid," Jake said quietly. "You built an empire on fear because you were afraid of being weak. But true strength comes from protecting others, not dominating them." The Empress studied the human for a long moment. Around them, the sounds of battle echoed through the ship as her empire crumbled. "You are right," she said finally. "I am tired. So very tired of the killing." When Vexara knelt before Jake Morrison and surrendered, the Zirathi Empire ended not with a great battle, but with a broken leader finally finding peace. 10 years later, Jake sat on the porch of his home on New Earth, a world that had become the capital of the Galactic Federation. Children of dozens of species played in his yard while their parents worked together to build a better future. A young Zilani child approached him with wide, curious eyes. "Admiral Morrison, is it true that humans are the strongest species in the galaxy?" Jake smiled and ruffled the child's crystal-like hair. No, little one, we are not the strongest. We are just the ones who remembered that being strong means protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Above them, ships from 100 worlds traveled peacefully through space. The age of the Zirathi Empire was over. The age of hope had begun. In the distance, a statue stood in the center of the city. It showed humans and aliens standing together. With words carved in every known language, here stands the monument to those who refuse to surrender. They taught the galaxy that even the smallest light can drive away the greatest darkness. The galaxy had learned that predators and prey were old concepts. In the new age, there were only those who chose to protect and those who chose to destroy. And the protectors, led by the small stubborn species from Earth, would never let darkness rule again. Jake closed his eyes and listened to the sounds of children playing. It was the most beautiful sound in the universe. It was the sound of hope itself.